Hey you guys, Needy12 here, and I just got back from seeing Ant-Man. It was awesome, spectacular. I loved it. Probably one of the best Marvel movies. I don't know why everyone said it was gonna be bad. I personally didn't see anything wrong with it. Like, there were a few scenes where I was like, man, but like, most of the scenes were just epic and awesome. So, because of how epic and awesome it was, I'm gonna do a review on, well, you pretty much know, Ant-Man. Yeah, I actually want to see. No, that breaks. That breaks. Got it. Oh, oh, hey, it does work. Sweet. Okay. So, yeah, guys. Just hold the camera like that. I should start doing that from now on. I'm using one of my Lego things as a little stand. Seems to be working, hopefully. So by the time I'm recording this, it should be like after the movie is nighttime. But this video might be uploaded tomorrow, so you might be seeing it tomorrow, or at least since the video will be on tomorrow, today. That's gonna be so confusing. Anyways, so where should I start with Ant-Man? Okay, so it starts out with Scott Lang and these prisoners. They're all in prison, of course, and you think they're fighting because like there's this big, tall dude, and they're like punching each other, right? You think they're fighting, but what actually it is, it's like a goodbye ritual or some sort of thing, which I actually was like, are they fighting? But then turns out it was just a little thing. Oh yeah, by the way, there might be spoilers. Why did I not say that in the first place? You know what? If I'm gonna edit the video, just say spoilers. Got it, guys? Cool. Okay. So I'm trying to look more at the camera now because I'm always trying to look at the actual video, seeing if I'm doing something right. But I should just start looking at the camera. Focus on the camera. Anyways, so after that, the cops take him out of jail. He meets his friend Luis. I think it was Luis. Yeah, Luis. And there's also like 3 more guys in this apartment. We talk about how they heard about this thing. This thing that's an old man's house that's supposed to have like a lot of cash. But Scott Lang's like, no, I'm not robbing any more places. I'm done with that. I'm over with that. I'm not doing that anymore. So after that, I thought this was really cool. They have a little scene with Darren Cross, who's Yellow Jacket in the movie. He's the big bad guy. And he's talking about how Hank Pym was always telling him that Hank Pym is like old. He said that the first Ant-Man was in the 70s, which is actually would mean that it was probably a little bit before the Avengers, the actual Avengers were formed. So that's a little different from the comic books, but hey, it's still pretty cool, I guess. So then Darren is kind of pissed because Hank never told Darren exactly how the Pym particles worked, and he really wanted to know how that works. So he's trying to make his own sort of particles that work exactly like the Pym particles. So he introduces a suit well known as the Yellow Jacket, which should have been obvious. Sorry. The Yellow Jacket, which should have been obvious. And Hank Pym and his daughter Hope, which when I first saw the trailer I thought it was Wasp. It's actually Hope, his daughter. They get worried because he's actually getting really close to discovering secrets. And the cool part about that scene is that he also shows like clips of battlegrounds, like short wars, and he actually zooms into the clips, and you can see Hank Pym as Ant-Man at the time, just fighting off military tanks and all that stuff, like firing at people like a gun. And it's really cool. I kind of like that, how they zoomed it in, just to show this little tiny speck to be Ant-Man. That's really cool. So after that scene, Hank Pym goes to his daughter's birthday. The new he's divorced apparently, since they don't really say it, but it's kind of obvious since the wife has a new fiance, and the new fiance is also a cop. So that's not too good for Scott. Scott gives his daughter a present, but of course, Mom doesn't want Scott to be there. Mom thinks Scott's a bad influence, which, you know, before he becomes Ant-Man, I would have thought so too. Anyways, so then he gives her this like creepy bunny, and the bunny's like, I forgot what it said, but it was kind of creepy. It was like, I wanna play, or something like that, and had like these sharp teeth and these red eyes. It was pretty creepy. So, his daughter's name is Cassie, by the way. His wife, or his ex-wife, I'm not sure what to call that. His ex-wife tells him, no, Scott, I don't want you here. You're not a very good person. You're just not doing stuff right. And he was talking about supporting Cassie and stuff, and that he should get his own apartment, something like that. I'm trying to remember exactly, but I can't really remember exactly what they said. Anyways, so Scott is actually making this like little list of all the stuff he would need to support Cassie, and it says by the time he'll get all that money, it'll be like 377 days, and you know that's more than a year. So that's what worries Scott. Got a little more. So after that, he's thinking, since I need the money for this, I might as well go along with that little plan that my friend Luis had. So he has Luis explain the plan, and it's this like really complicated, long explanation, talking about his like his brother meeting this girl, and the girl was the maid for an old man. That old man being Hank Pym, but he doesn't know that yet. Old man has a safe, and it's like a really secure safe, and they think that there's money in there. So Scott decides, okay, I'll go along with the job only because I need the money for my daughter. That's Scott right now. So they go to the old man's house. No one's there. Like they said that the person that lived there was gonna be gone for 1 whole week. And then it's actually this really cool scene because it's kind of slow transition, but it's actually pretty cool. Like Scott is like going into the house in really smart ways. He hacked the oh my gosh, in my eye. Okay, I got that out. He hacks the alarm system, goes into the house using a knife to open up the window. He goes into the room, and he finds the safe. Once he finds the safe, he actually does this like really smart plan where it says he needs a fingerprint. So what he does is that he gets tape, plastic. He does some kind of thing where he melts it, and he gets a fingerprint from I think it was a set of keys. I forgot. Something like that. It was something that Hank could have had his fingers on to get the fingerprint, and I thought that was pretty smart. Well, that's really one of the reasons why Hank picked Scott, because Scott thinks up here. So then after that, Scott goes through the goes through the fingerprint system, but then there's another safe inside. Hank really wants whatever in that safe to be safe. Well, that's the point of safe. So then, after that, he goes in there and he sees that there is this huge door, But luckily for Scott, he knows his history on movies, apparently, for some reason. And he knew that the door is made of the same metal from Titanic. So he makes this little device where he puts water inside the room and then freezes it with liquid nitrogen. And that liquid nitrogen like freezes the door, same way how the iceberg caused the Titanic to sink. And I was like, wow, Scott, you're actually using your brain. That's really cool. He's using his brain to steal whatever's in the safe. So then, of course, the door blows up, and he goes inside. Now, he finds the Ant-Man suit in the safe, and that's what was in there, and some, like, lab equipment. And he thinks it's a biker outfit, so he just takes it for no reason, but according to the story, if it was a real story, he would have already known about Ant-Man, and he would have took the suit to do more robberies, but this is a different version. So in this version, he thinks it's a motorcycle suit and just takes it anyways and just leaves. So they go back to his apartment, or I think it's his apartment. It could be Louise's apartment, I don't know. And they, and then he's in the bathroom, he looks at Ant-Man suit, he's like, why would he want to put this in the safe? Why? He puts it on, he's just looking at himself in the mirror. He's standing in the bathtub, and he does the other one button doesn't work. Presses the other button, shrinks down to the size of an ant, of course, and he falls into the bathtub. And he was by himself. Louise comes in, turns on the bathwater. Hank Pym's talking to him through like I think a communicator and a helmet, and then Hank's telling him to like run. He's like something like I read the line. It was like the suit can be a trial of fire, or in this case, water. And then of course the water falls on. I think Hank had a camera there. How would he know that he was in the bathtub? Anyways, oh my god, I swear. Anyways, then there's this really cool part where the water's just falling down, and and Scott is like running away from it because he doesn't want to drown. He goes in there, and then there's this really cool transition where he's falling into more homes in the apartment, and it's so cool because he goes to this one room where there's a party. He falls on the disc, gets hit by the scratch thing on there, falls on the floor while people are dancing. And actually, on accident, he actually kind of learns how to jump. To sort of do the Ant-Man jump. He's jumping on other people's shoes, trying to go through there, trying to make it out. He runs into a mouse. I said mice. He runs into a mouse, and he starts to run from the mouse. It's just really cool how they did that because everything looked so real, including the mouse. I think the mouse probably was real, but he was shrunk down, and it just shows how the world can affect Hank. I mean, not Hank. Gosh darn it. How the world can affect Scott in this kind of way. He ends up outside, and he's like, nope! Return in the suit right now! Okay, this thing is going to kill me. So he takes off the suit, drives back to Hank Pym's house, tries to put the suit back, but then there's cops all over. Just ends up back in jail. You'd think it'd probably be over then, but this is a Marvel movie. Of course, it's not over. So while he's in jail, the fiance guy, I forgot his name, goes like, dude, I thought you could actually change. You said you were gonna change anyways. And Scott's just in there. This guy comes up and goes like, yo, Scott, your lawyer's here. Scott's like, huh? What? My lawyer? I don't know what you're talking about. But he doesn't actually say that. But it's just his expression. Anyways, and then he goes into the room to see Hank Pym there. And Hank Pym uses the ant to blur up, just cover up the screen so they can't see. And that was pretty smart. Hank tells him about about this like offer that he has for him, like a chance for a redemption. And you know, of course, since he's a criminal, well, at least was a criminal, so you think it'd be done right there, right? No, Hank. Remember, Hank is a genius, so he thinks it is a good plan to take Scott out. He shrinks the suit. Well, at least they didn't show it. Just like Scott's in his cell, just laying on the bed, and the ants bring the suit to him. Well, the suit's shrunken, and they unshrink the suit to make it big. And then the ants do this like little thing where they're counting down. It's like 10, 9. I can't really do it with my hand. 9, 8. So Scott puts on the suit before the ants are finished, shrinks down, and by the time the same guy who told Hank, who told Scott that his lawyer was here, aka Hank Pym, the same guy goes back to that cell and sees that Scott's gone. So of course he pulls the trigger. So Hank's talking to Scott again in the communicator, telling him about the ants, and he needs to fly on it. I swear, Scott is like super scared of the ants at first. He's like super scared of the ants. He was like moving back. He was just frightened somehow. Well, actually, I would have been frightened if I was tiny and I saw a gigantic ant. So I can feel this. I can feel it. Anyways, then he goes on one of the ants. It's like this one ant with like this little lasso, just like a techno lasso, same color as the helmet that he's wearing, and he flies on it. And it's really cool how they do that too, because he gets stuck on a car at a point, and he uses the car to travel. Hank gives him directions. And then there's this part which actually does kind of go with the comic book, where Hank runs out of air in the suit, and that actually does happen because in the comic book it's explained that when Ant-Man shrinks, it's hard to breathe, and that's why he has a little mask thing. It just makes it hard to breathe, so that's why he has that on the actual suit. In case you never knew that. And there are a few versions of Ant-Man that never had the little breathing thing, but the newer versions do. Most of the newer versions do. Yeah, he gets knocked out, falls off the ant, but of course, ant catches him. And he wakes up back in Hank's house and meets Hope. Hope, of course, being the daughter of Ant-Man. She's just texting on her phone, not even looking at Scott. Scott has no idea what's going on. I swear he's like freaked out. And he goes like, "Where am I? Who are you?" "My name's Hope, and you wanna know why you're in here? Because this is the place to rob." And then, like, Scott tries to get off the bed, but then, bam, the floor is full of bullet ants, which are one of the type of ants that he uses as Ant-Man. And the bullet ants are just all over the floor. And Scott takes one bad move, and he gets stung, like, really badly. Like, I'm pretty sure they said it was one of the most painful ants. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with the bullet ant. So, after that, oh my god, this video has only been me trying to remember what happened, and I'm not even done. So after that, Scott realizes that he can actually go out the room, and you see Hank and Hope talking about why Scott was chosen. And actually, Hope is like, "I should be doing this. Why aren't you letting me use the Ant-Man suit? I can stop Darren. I know everything about him." But Hank's like, "No, no, no." And then there's this part where Hank just gets frustrated. He's like, "No! No!" And they're training, after that, they're just training Scott to use the Ant-Man suit. They're just training Scott. They're teaching him how to shrink at the right moment, how to fight, how to really punch. My favorite scene was that was one of my favorite scenes when he's like, oh, you guys show me how to punch? Show me how to punch. And then she punches him in the face. He's like, were you even going for the hand? And they just show like this whole entire montage of him learning how to punch, like how to punch. Moss was like, you punch too hard, you could kill a person. You punch too soft, it will only be a light tap. And I thought that was pretty like true since his size is this, and he's as fast as a bullet. So one hitting too strong will go right through the flesh, but hitting just hard enough, it'll be like a little like paintball gun. It'll be like it'll hurt, but it won't go through. Sort of like that. So he also has to meet the different types of ants, and there's crazy ants. They can produce electricity, and they can even contain it to like be used to shut off system, mainframes, stuff like that. There are the bullet ants, which I already told you, they can be used to be shot at bad guys and they sting. Fire ants, turns out they're good for something else than just making you itch. For Scott, they also make like little structures. They can make rafts, bridges from their bodies, and that's pretty cool. And then, of course, the flying ant. And then there's this cool part where Scott is learning how to fly on the ant, and then he goes like, "I'm gonna call you Anthony," and that's pretty funny. So after the whole entire training, Scott takes a break. I guess they never really specified it. They just used one of the scene cuts, whatever. And Scott has to learn how to make the ants do whatever he wants with this little device, right? So Hank says, get the ants to put the sugar in the tea. And Scott is really focusing, but they're not really listening. He just kind of gives up. So then Hope is like, this is useless. I should just do it. I don't know why you're not letting me. And Hank starts yelling at her again, saying that she can't do it. And Hope gets mad, just leaves the room. Scott goes in the car with her, just goes like, you should just really lock your door. You know what I'm saying? And she's talking about how Hank just left her in boarding school for 7 years after her mother died, and she has no idea. Hank has always been saying that his mom died in a plane crash, which is actually sort of close to what actually happened, but that'll come later. Actually, like a few seconds later. And and Scott's like, you know what? I have my own daughter, and that's why I want to do this, because I want to do this for her. And I guess and then Hope just thinks for a second and just goes like, you need to really concentrate. That's how you get the ants to do what you want. So Scott, I guess it doesn't really have to, I guess it's kind of cool because it's like this earpiece. When I saw the trailer, I thought he just did it with his brain, which was kind of breaking the logic of Ant-Man. But no, it's just like earpiece thing that he wears under the helmet, which that kind of fixes it. And he gets the ants to spin a coin, and he gets the ants to spin a coin, and it spins. Of course, now he has control of the ants. So then, now I'm back again. Sheesh, seriously, so then they go back inside, and Hank actually tells her what actually happened to her mom, the Wasp. And it's actually really sad. It's like there's this other realm called the subquantum, I think. Yeah, subquantum realm, where if you try to shrink between molecules, you will shrink forever. And Wasp did that to stop the bomb. and she fell. Of course, Hank tried to stop her, but it wouldn't. What I liked about the Wasp suit is that it did look like the Ant-Man suit, but it looked like a female version of the Ant-Man suit, and that was pretty cool. I really didn't like how the Wasp suit looks like in the classic comics, but I did kind of like it. It looked cool. And it was kind of sad. She went into the bomb and died. You can hear younger Hank just go, no! You know, and they fall into the water. I'm not sure how Hank gets out. I think he probably turns back to normal size and like, gets help from S.H.I.E.L.D. because he said he used to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. And, yeah. He, talks to Scott about previous... After that, he talks to Scott about previous, people that tried to take his, not DNA, his work. He also talks to Scott about why Darren wants it, how Darren knows about it, and, why it's important that no one should have it. He also talks about, he also says his first plan, which is to get this little device that's in Howard Stark's, of course, Tony's dad's basement. One thing that Hank Pym didn't know is that in the last few years, a superhero team kinda changed the base around. The Avengers! Oh, bless me. Yeah, I'm joking. The Avengers actually now use that warehouse. So, as Scott's flying there, he just tells him that, and Hank's like, oh no. And then we get our favorite cameo in the whole entire movie. The Falcon shows up. And of course, Scott at first thinks, hey, I'm small, he can't see me, but Falcon has special glasses that allows him to see. And they have this like really cool fight scene where like Scott is trying to stop the Falcon. He's just beating up the Falcon. And Hank's like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing this. Yeah, and you know how that goes. And he goes into the room. It's really cool because he also like messes with Falcon's wings, and he malfunctions them a lot, you know, just to try to stop him. They fly into the warehouse, and of course it just waits a second, and then Falcon just comes flying out. Scott's punching and kicking, and then pushes Falcon to the ground. Shrinks, goes on a flying ant, flies away. Of course, he's also talking about how cool it is that Falcon's an Avenger. He's also saying sorry a lot, which is pretty funny. So he flies on the ant, goes back to Hank's house. Hank's like, "Are you stupid? You could have jeopardized everything." And the worst part is, we didn't even get the device. Of course, Scott just goes like, "You're welcome." So Hank is actually pretty surprised and just starts to smile and just go like, "You're really clever, you know that?" So then they try to devise a plan when all of a sudden they hear a noise. Hank opens up the door and Darren Cross is inside the house. Of course, he's trying to look for the formula to make the Pym particles. But Hank, being clever, gets his aunt... No, Hank did that. Scott did. Scott, being clever, got the ant to roll up the formula paper before Darren saw it. And Darren's just talking to Hank, like... And he goes like, "I'm gonna change the world. You know that? With this new technology, I can make soldiers as small as an insect. They can defeat our enemies. I want you to be there when I make my grand unveiling for the Yellow Jacket." Oh yeah, and I skipped this scene. I just realized I skipped like two scenes that are kind of important on accident. Sorry guys, but there's this one scene where he's in a bathroom with one of the guys he was talking to after he showed the Yellow Jacket suit, and he like doesn't like what the guy says about the Yellow Jacket suit being too dangerous, so he goes like, "You know what? I'm just gonna test test it out on you. The guy turns to a pile of goop. And I was kind of disgusted. I was like, I wasn't sure if his skin exploded or if his insides exploded, because he turned into a yellow, pinkish goop of, I don't know, I guess flesh. But at least he was tiny. That's the only part he got, right? And just cleans him up, puts him in the toilet, and says, goodbye. Of course, Darren did that, just so you know. Darren technically killed him, I guess. He also tested it out on Lamb while Hope was there. And Hope saw how he was getting close, because the things were shrinking, but they ended up as blobs. And also after the scene that I was just talking about a few minutes ago with him being in Hank's house, Hope sees that he actually finds out how to shrink animals, and that's bad, because if he finds out how to shrink animals, of course he's gonna find out how to shrink people. And when he finds out how to shrink people, Yellow Jacket comes out. So that's bad. So after Yellow Jacket, after that, Hank, Scott, and Hope try to make up the plan to break into Darren's place, but Darren tripled security just to make sure there was no way an Ant-Man or anyone else could get in. But their plan, it would have worked, but they needed something else to help them. And who were the first three people that Scott thinks up? Of course, Luis and the other two guys. So I'm just gonna go to the part that's most important. The other two guys are in a van. They're waiting for Hank to show up. Hank shows up, of course, and is about to drive into the building. Now this is pretty much the middle of the movie, so like I guess the end of the middle of the movie. So yeah. So Hank drives in, and then he gets like interrupted by cops. The cops show up to ask Hank what happened when he visited Scott. But luckily the guys are like, hey, they know us, they know we're probably doing something bad, so we're gonna distract him. So they distract him while Luis dresses as a security guard and knocks out a few people. Hope is of course like normal in the building because she works with Darren. And Scott flies into the building. He sets explosives up, and he also has a shutdown security. He uses a crazy ant to shut down the security. He just had to make sure no one's in there. Of course, Luis is handling that, and he gets a crazy ants and they shut off like most of his security. And he goes into the room with the Yellow Jacket suit. The two guys go back in the van. They're hacking into the laser grid system so that Scott doesn't become diced. And as they're doing that, it's like loading really slowly. One of the cops, of course, being the new fiance for Scott's wife, he knows that van. He just knows it, and he suspects Scott's there. So he's like, I know that van anywhere. Goes in there, they open up the van. They're like, hey, what's up? And Scott's like, is it ready? Is it almost done? And he goes like, yeah, it's almost done. No, it's not. It's halfway there. No, it's not. I love that part. And of course, they almost get arrested. When luckily for them, they get distracted by a security alarm going off. So they unchain themselves. Luckily, they turn off the grid, and Scott lowers himself down. But Darren, being as smart as he is, finds out that Scott tried to take the suit, so he takes the Yellow Jacket suit out of the container, turns back on the laser grid, and now Scott's stuck in there. And now there's like these 3 guys from Hydra that show up on a helicopter, and he's like, yeah, so I'm gonna sell the suit to Hydra, and they're gonna turn my suit into reality. And Scott's like, no, Darren, you shouldn't be doing this. My technology is way too dangerous, and you know that. So Darren doesn't even care right now. He's just pissed. He's about to shoot Hank. And Hope's like, nope. And all the other guys go like, oh, we might as well follow. So they're all pointing at each other. And Hope's like, put the gun down. Of course. Scott then thinks of this plan. He gets one of his these like little discs that can grow and shrink stuff since the anime suit has no weapons. He shrinks. No, he grows one side of the tank and it just blows up. He gets out, starts beating everyone up. Darren is like mad now, so he's just shooting everybody. He shoots Hank, and Hank falls to the floor bleeding. Hope's like next to him. He starts beating Ant-Man, of course, starts fighting Darren, and Darren runs away with, one of the Hydra guys run away with the particles, which I'm hoping that doesn't lead to anything in the future. And Darren also gets away with the Yellow Jacket suit. And Scott is like, oh my god, Hank, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. Hank's bleeding out, of course, which is weird because I think this might have been an error, but in the movie, the gun was facing somewhere towards here, but he had the gunshot right here. I'm not sure if anyone else will notice that, or maybe like the gun was tilted. I don't know. But this just looked like it was right here, the gun, and the bullshot was right here, so I don't know. So anyways, after that, they get out of there. Things are happening. Darren runs up to his helicopter, and guess who follows him? Ant-Man and his army of ants. But Darren, being really pissed, just gets out his gun and goes like, I'm tired of these motherfucking ants on this motherfucking building. Hey, if you've ever watched Snakes on a Plane, you know where that reference came from. Ding. So he starts shooting the ants like crazy. A lot of ants are getting shot. And then he shoots Anthony, and I'm like, oh no, he shot Anthony. You gotta pay for that. And Scott's like, no, Anthony, you're gonna regret that. Just goes on another flying ant, and most of the ants get shot, but Scott makes it. And there's this really cool scene where he's just on the different like people, other 3 people, which are the 3 Hydra members inside the helicopter. And Darren is just pissed. He's just shooting anyone. He doesn't even care if he accidentally misses. Just shooting the Hydra members in their stomach and their leg. Just shooting everywhere. And then the Yellow Jacket suit, Scott almost gets it, but then he falls out the helicopter. He grabs onto this thing, and the second he goes in there, finally, we have the Yellow Jacket, the actual Yellow Jacket villain. Not just a suit, we have the actual villain show up, and he's just pissed. He's like, you're not gonna stop me, I'm the Yellow Jacket. Has 2 laser arms there, ready to shoot Scott. He's just pissed. Okay guys, he's just pissed. And of course, the helicopter is like losing control, and it blows up. But Scott and Yellow Jacket don't care. They accidentally fall into the suitcase closes. They're having this really cool scene where like Yellow Jacket hits the iPhone in there, and the iPhone turns on and is like playing music while they're fighting. They fall into a random backyard of this like family, and they're just freaked out. Yellow Jacket comes out about to shoot the family, but Scott's like, nope. They're fighting, beating each other up. They're like, no, stop it. And Scott throws Yellow Jacket towards a bug zapper, thinks he's out, and then he's like, it's okay, Of course, it being a Marvel movie, the family freaks out, not knowing what's going on, and just runs away. But then, somehow, the cop guy was able to find Scott, and just goes like, "Nope, nope, you come with me, Scott." And Scott's like, "No, no, there's someone in there, and I need to..." Scott gets tasered, falls to the ground, knocked out, and they take Scott in the Ant-Man suit. But what they don't know is that, of course, Darren's not dead. He woke up inside the bug zapper and just gets out. So Scott's in the car, and he's just like, "You don't understand. I gotta go back to the house." And then he's like, "Yeah, sure you do." You know, I'm gonna be honest. If I saw that Scott Lang was in some kind of weird suit, and he was just in a random person's backyard, and those people said that there was two people in that backyard fighting each other, would have had a guess, but it's a Marvel movie, so whatever. Then they get a call saying that the house that, of course, Scott's daughter lives in, of course, it was kind of obvious. You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. It's like has an intruder in there, and of course, that intruder is none other than Yellow Jacket. Yellow Jacket's just like, "Don't worry, little girl. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not a monster." And then no, that's not what he says. He says, "I'm not gonna hurt you." And then she's just scared, and he goes like, "You think I'm a monster?" And then she doesn't say anything. She's just like, and he goes like, Of course, the police officers go up, but Scott's like, "Nope, I gotta get out of here." They're like, "Nope, you stay here." So Scott's like, "You know what? I'm tired of this." He goes onto the ground, tries to get his helmet on. Once he finally gets the helmet on, he shrinks, gets out of the car before they can close the door. So the little girl's in trouble. She's held captive by Yellow Jacket. But luckily, who comes to save the day? Ant-Man. They just had this really cool scene where they're shrinking and just fighting, and they actually show how it looks like to people that are normal size. It just looks like tiny lasers are just messing up stuff. But the Scott and Darren, it looks like massive explosions and stuff. It's really cool. They flip fall on the train track table, and like Scott is just pissed. He's drawing. He's like, "You don't mess with my daughter." He's drawing like the back of the train and stuff at Darren, but of course they all miss because Darren's just going shooting his lasers, and Darren just goes like, "You know what? I'm tired of you throwing that at me." Grabs the actual Thomas, just throws him. Scott luckily dodges it, and it ends up on top of the thing. So Scott starts using his disc thing, and he's just throwing them. He's trying to throw them at Darren. He throws one, actually hits Thomas, and the Thomas goes like super huge and falls from the top of the house. I like how they did that because they actually got like a giant Thomas train out of the house. Thomas is always creepy to me. Yeah, with that weird smile, you know, like. Yeah, he was always creepy to me. Anyway, so then they're just fighting in that room. The fiance guy comes up and tells Cassie to hide behind her. He Ant-Man's still shrunken down, but Yellow Jacket goes up, and Ant-Man's trying to find out a way how to go inside Yellow Jacket's suit, but he sees it's too small. And of course, the only way to go in is to go subatomic, something like that. And so he shrinks to the size of a molecule, and the same thing like Wasp, like yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. Same thing like Wasp, he shrinks in there. He's able to stop the Yellow Jacket, and he actually ends up sucking the Yellow Jacket up with him. And they just start going to the quantum zone, the quantum realm, where they just start shrinking forever. And it just does this weird thing where it looks like the universe is folding on itself, which is what Hank said. There's no concept of time or space, and they're just shrinking forever. And it looks cool because it looks like he's going to like a microscopic state, so small that it's even smaller than the states of matter that we know of right now. And it just looks like the universe is folding on itself. It's awesome. So Scott's floating in this drift of a world, just shrinking. He has no idea what's going on. In fact, it's just too great for the human mind. Yellow Jacket's gone for sure, but Scott thinks up a plan really quickly. He just hears his daughter's voice. He's like, no, this can't be the end. I'm getting out of here right now. I don't care anything about what Hank said. I'm gonna find a way. And then he remembers Hank saying, don't mess with the belt. But he does it anyways. He takes out the thing that's in the belt, pulls out one in the growing disc, puts it in there, closes the belt, presses the button, starts growing, and in the real world it looks like this little like glowing light. There's like a wind coming out of it, and then out comes Scott. His mask is all broken and stuff, and his daughter just goes to hug him, and he's happy because his daughter's safe, of course, and everything just turns out well. Well, he stopped Yellow Jacket. All damage is over. Police guy, I guess, is kind of proud of Scott because Scott did something that doesn't just award himself, and things ended up well. I thought that was pretty cool. Things ended up well. So Hank asks Scott what it was like in the quantum zone, but Scott doesn't remember anything. In fact, he just doesn't even remember how he got out. Hank, of course, is kind of saddened by that news. Hank has a broken arm now after the gunshot, I guess, which is kind of weird. Or maybe he just got it when he fell down, because he did fall down. And yeah, at least Hank was still alive, and it's kind of sad news to him. So, at the end of the movie, we just see Scott talking to Luis, and Luis is like, "Yo, man, I got an occupation for you, man." And then he tells Scott about how he knows this girl who is an assistant to one of the Avengers, and how he knows this girl and knows this guy and knows this girl that's assistant to one of the Avengers, and he just goes like that they're talking to Falcon, and Falcon's like, dude, I'm looking for this guy that can shrink and stuff, and talking about how he was gonna join the Avengers, and then Scott's like, what do you say? And Luis goes like, he said yes, and this goes from the credits. But it's not over yet, because of course, like every Marvel movie ever, there has to be a post. Actually, every Marvel movie starting from 2008, there has to be a post-credit scenes, right? Yes, but actually, as a big surprise, there's two. Which I was actually kind of genuinely surprised by that. It's actually two. The first one has Scott with Hope, and Scott goes like, "There's something I gotta show you. You see here, me and your mother, we're always working on something that we hid from you for a little while. We were actually making an alpha version of the Wasp suit, but the more that the years went by, the more I realized I was actually building it for you." Opens the suit, and you see this new Wasp suit, and Hank Pym goes like, "Maybe we can build it together." And then the other cutscene has Captain America and Falcon talking to finding the Winter Soldier, and they're like, "Should we tell Tony about this?" And I think it has something to do with Civil War. The credits roll, and it says, "Ant-Man will return," and of course that will be in Civil War. Personally, I just love this movie. It was awesome. I'm surprised I remembered that much about it. I might have skipped some scenes. I'm sorry for that, because there's no way I was going to remember all that. It's an amazing movie. I don't know why people said it was going to be bad. It was actually pretty good. It had good visual effects. The shrinking was nice. The growing also. The fight scenes were good. I like how the fight scenes would include Ant-Man turning tiny, fighting people. Scott was a good character. Paul Rudd wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad as Scott. Although he's more into comedy, and yes, it does have a little bit of comedy in it. He actually was pretty good at action scenes. Although he was making side remarks throughout most of the scenes, but it was still pretty good. Hank, the guy playing Hank was a good character. Sure, he's a little bit older, but he's still pretty good at what he did. Wasp was also a great character. She was just genuine. I mean, not Wasp. Hope was a great character. I like the actor for Darren, because he just seemed like the kind of corporate greedy guy that you'd want from a movie. So anyway, guys, that was Ant-Man. If you want me to do more movie reviews, you can leave it in the comments below. I love this, actually. I'm hoping my next one's not this long. I've been talking to you guys for like an hour. But, of course, for me, it's only like 9 o'clock now for you guys. I don't know. So anyway, guys, as always, leave a comment below telling me about what movie you want me to review next. Creeper Hiss Boom. Bye. Oh, yeah. And before you watch this, tell your friends about spoilers. Bye! Creeper Hiss Boom.